finally released, you failed to protect the survivors that law was intended to protect. Survivors' personal information, including names, phone numbers, home addresses, and images were released. Powerful people were redacted. Survivors were subjected to re-traumatization. More than 1,200 victims, yet only 2 people have ever been prosecuted, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, I was stunned earlier by your conversation with one of my colleagues that you wouldn't even commit to meeting with the survivors, but you did meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Your claim that you can't meet with these victims because they're represented by counsel is utter nonsense. Counsel can be present or a client can waive their right to have counsel, but you're a lawyer. You know this. That was not truthful what you said to my colleague. You said that they should meet with the FBI. All of these women have reported their crimes decades ago, but yet you won't meet with them. What you will do is meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Over a year ago, you sat with her, and you publicly said you were seeking the truth. So let's talk about what that 2-day meeting produced. Did your interview with Ms. Maxwell lead to a single additional person being charged, yes or no?
No.
Did it lead to a single new investigation, yes or no?
I can't talk about whether there's any investigations.
I'm not asking you about an ongoing or closed investigation. I'm just asking you about this unusual...
I can't answer your question, yes or no.
Did you or anyone else from the DOJ or associated with the president discuss a presidential pardon with Ghislaine Maxwell or her attorneys?
No.
Did you discuss clemency, yes or no?
No.
Did you discuss...
She was convicted. What do you mean clemency?
Did you discuss her transfer to another institution, yes or no?
No.
Well, just 1 week after your meeting, Ms. Maxwell was transferred from a low-security federal institution to a minimum security prison camp. Were you involved with that transfer?
When, as I've talked about before, in the time leading up to me going down to meet with her, we learned that she was receiving threats. It turned out...
I'm going to interrupt you for a matter of time because...
Okay, well, it's not a question I can answer, apparently, in the time you're giving me.
I'm going to tell you this because I deal with issues of criminal justice. When people are under threats in a Bureau of Prison facility, they're put into solitary confinement or protective. They're not moved to a camp.
That's not always true.
It is.
You're
well,
just
what
wrong.
What is true is someone that is accused of child sex trafficking under the Bureau of Prison's own policies is not put in a facility like this that seems clearly like a reward. The Department of Justice is also responsible that powerful corporations play by the same rules. Let's take a proposed merger between Paramount, Warner Brothers, and Discovery. This is no ordinary transaction. It was a proposed $111 billion merger involving 2 of the last remaining legacy Hollywood studios. As Deputy Attorney General and later Acting Attorney General, you exercised oversight of the Antitrust Division. You approved the decision to close the department's investigation into that merger, yes or no?
I was part of the decision. I
yes,
don't know
you were involved in that.
You
that
don't
is
even
a yes.
let me answer, man.
Did
That's
the
incredible.
career attorneys who investigated that deal recommend closing that investigation?
I didn't have a conversation with the career, but as I was saying
I didn't
earlier,
ask you that. I asked you, did the career attorneys who investigated the deal recommend closing the investigation?
I have no idea what they
You were in charge of that department, yet you have no idea. Well, this
I didn't say I had no idea. It's no idea about the question you asked about what the career attorney's view was.
You do not know what the career attorney's view was.
I'm not sure what the view was with respect to closing it or not closing it.
Let me tell you why ethics laws that bind you about the appearance of impropriety are so damning in this case. On the same day that Paramount shareholders voted to approve the merger, David Ellison, the head of the acquiring company, hosted a dinner that you attended honoring the President of the United States. While you were at that dinner, the DOJ was still investigating a merger. Did you speak with Mr. Ellison on that evening?
No.
Did you discuss with anyone involved in that organization that evening the department's ongoing investigations?
No.
Well, 6 weeks later, after that dinner, that investigation was closed that you're stating You have no idea if the attorneys in charge even finished their investigation.
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
You asked me a question about whether the attorneys recommended that the investigation be closed, and I said I wasn't sure. That's different than what you just threw back at me.
Do you believe that that creates an appearance of impropriety that you were at a dinner?
No.
Okay. The Justice Department ethics rules are very clear about avoiding the appearance of impropriety. In a case like this, I don't think that's appearance of impropriety. I think that's improper. That the connected and the powerful are getting a chance to rub shoulders. It would seem appropriate that you avoid those kind of appearances and dinners like that.
Every appearance or dinner or speech that I give are cleared by ethics officials.
So your attendance at that dinner was cleared by ethics officials?
Everything that I do.
I didn't ask you everything you do. Was your appearance at that dinner
You
clear?
can ask the questions, but you cannot control my answers. I'm under oath, and I can answer the questions. I choose to answer them.
Were you
so what I will tell you
approved
is when I do
yes
things
or
outside,
no?
when
Were
I do
you
things,
approved
when
by
I do
ethics
things
to-
outside of the department, whether it's a speech, whether it's a dinner, whether it's an event, they are approved by ethics officials.
You did not answer whether that attendance was approved.
Every time I go out, it's approved. Yes.
You know, Lincoln, it was said about him that if you want to see the true character of a man, don't view him in adversity, give him power. I believe you've had a lot of power. And so we don't have to speculate about what has been revealed with your time in that office. We don't need to worry about what kind of attorney general. You've already had that power. This isn't a job interview like usually. You've sat before this committee before. You've made promises time and time again before. You got the job, actually, to be the number 2 and the acting director. So this isn't a confirmation hearing. This is more of a performance review. And clearly, when it comes to the treatment of Epstein victims, when it comes to politically motivated prosecutions, when it comes from avoiding appearance of impropriety with corporations, you failed. You're asking this body for a promotion. And you've spent today making a lot of promises to follow the law, promises to be independent, promises to serve the American people and not the president. But we don't need your promises. We have your record. We have watched you exercise one of the greatest powers entrusted to any public servant. And what have you shown us? 1,200 victims waiting for justice. What have you shown us? There's 2 prosecutions. While the people involved, the victims, are waiting for action, one of the people prosecuted gets the most cushy arrangement possible. After you
Blanche, who served as the president's personal lawyer before stepping into this acting position, found himself at the center of those doubts. The senator wanted straight answers on whether loyalty to one individual might overshadow commitment to the rule of law for all Americans. Booker didn't hold back on recent actions under Blanche's watch that caught people on both sides off guard. He mentioned prosecutions and moves targeting figures across the aisle, including high-profile names like former officials and even a Federal Reserve governor. One flashpoint was the arrest of Newark Mayor Ras Baraka, right in Booker's home state. Body camera footage captured agents referencing direction from the deputy level, with one saying they were moving forward on the mayor's detention. The charges didn't stick, and a judge later weighed in on the conduct, reminding everyone that the role isn't about advancing any agenda, but applying the law evenly. Over 1,000 current and former justice officials from both parties had already voiced worries about this nomination, citing risks to impartiality. What really lit up the room in online discussions was the Epstein-related questioning. Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act with strong bipartisan support because the public demanded more openness on those long-standing cases. The law set clear deadlines for releasing materials, aiming to bring some closure for victims. Yet when the files finally came out, issues arose. Survivor details like contact information and images slipped through in some releases, causing fresh pain, while certain powerful names stayed heavily protected. With hundreds of victims connected to the network, but only 2 main prosecutions ever happening, frustration has built for years. Booker met with survivors who attended the hearing, and their stories highlighted ongoing calls for real progress. Blanche faced direct probes about his own involvement. He had sat down with Ghislaine Maxwell for an extended interview over 2 days more than a year ago, publicly stating he sought the truth. Reports claim the conversation covered her knowledge of the broader circle, but it didn't result in any new charges against additional individuals. When pressed, Blanche confirmed no further prosecutions stemmed directly from those talks. He also denied discussing any form of clemency or special arrangements with her or her team. Still, timing raised eyebrows. 1 week after that meeting, Maxwell moved from a standard federal facility to a minimum security camp. Officials cited threats to her safety as the reason, but Booker pushed back hard, noting that typical protocols for such cases often involve protective measures rather than what appeared to some as preferential treatment. Rumors continue to swirl online about what else might be in those files, with speculation that more connections could surface, though nothing has been verified beyond what's public. The exchange grew tense as Booker challenged whether the meeting truly advanced justice or if it reflected divided priorities. Survivors have repeatedly requested meetings, yet many say those went unanswered despite offers to bring counsel along. Blanche suggested routing through standard channels like the FBI, but for women who reported their experiences long ago, that felt insufficient. The contrast, hours spent with Maxwell versus limited direct engagement with victims, fueled arguments that powerful figures received different handling. Framing these as ongoing discussions, reports claim the file's releases left many questions open, with redactions sparking theories about protected elites. Of course, these remain unproven speculations, but they keep conversations alive across platforms as people dig into what's been disclosed so far. Shifting to another area, Booker turned to corporate matters and potential appearances of favoritism. The proposed massive merger involving Paramount, Warner Brothers, and Discovery, worth over $100 billion, came under antitrust review. As the one overseeing that division at the time, Blanche was part of the decision to close the investigation. Career staff details weren't fully clear in his responses, but the timing stood out. On the very day shareholders approved the deal, he attended a dinner hosted by the acquiring company's leader honoring the president. While Blanche stated he didn't discuss the case there and that ethics officials cleared his attendance, the senator argued it created an improper look. Justice rules emphasize avoiding even the appearance of conflicts, especially when connected players mingle at high-level events. This raised broader points about whether big corporations get smoother paths compared to everyday accountability. Throughout the hearing, Booker framed this as less a standard confirmation and more a review of actual performance. Blanche had already exercised significant authority in the acting role, making promises about following the law and serving the public. Yet the record shown included stalled progress on high-profile victim cases, moves some viewed as politically charged, and situations where influence seemed to favor certain interests. The senator closed by reminding everyone that the Attorney General's true client is the American people, not any single leader. Years of demonstrated pressures from the top, combined with these examples, suggested risks if the nomination advanced without stronger safeguards. Reactions poured in fast after the session. Supporters of Booker hailed it as a necessary stand for transparency and victims' rights, with many online highlighting the Maxwell transfer as particularly troubling. Others defended Blanche, arguing he was doing his job investigating threats and pursuing facts where possible, and that political opponents were simply grandstanding. Clips of the back and forth racked up views quickly, sparking debates on independence in government agencies. Some commentators noted how Epstein-related topics always draw massive interest because so many details remain murky even after releases. Rumors suggest additional names or connections could still emerge in future disclosures, though officials maintain the major reviews are complete. Diving deeper into the file situation, the Transparency Act aimed to put everything searchable and available, covering millions of pages from investigations. Releases happened in waves, but critics pointed to delays, heavy blackouts, and accidental exposures of victim information as signs of incomplete work. Powerful figures' details were often shielded more carefully, leading to claims of two-tiered justice. Survivors shared emotional testimonies nearby, describing how the lack of new actions left them feeling overlooked. One noted the disparity in time spent, extensive sessions with Maxwell versus minimal direct outreach to those harmed. These accounts added raw human weight to the legal arguments, keeping viewers glued as the implications sank in. Blanche's responses stayed measured, emphasizing his role in authorizing certain steps without direct micromanagement on the ground. On the Baraka arrest, he clarified conversations happened, but framed them as standard oversight. The body cam moment, however, with agents citing higher authority, painted a picture of top-down involvement that critics seized on. It fed into larger narratives about using federal power in local disputes, especially amid immigration facility tensions. While charges against the mayor dropped, the incident became a symbol for those questioning impartial enforcement. On the corporate side, the merger closure without deeper public insight into staff recommendations fueled skepticism. Attending the dinner right as proceedings wrapped didn't help optics, even with ethics sign-offs. Booker pressed on whether such proximity to deal makers blurred lines, especially given the stakes for media landscapes and public information flow. Blanche maintained no impropriety, but the senator saw it as part of a pattern favoring the connected. This hearing wasn't just about one nominee. It touched on foundational questions of trust in institutions. With Epstein materials still generating buzz, people wonder what else might surface and whether real accountability can cut through layers of influence. Speculation about broader networks persists online, with some claiming key details stay buried, though no concrete proof has confirmed those theories. The conversation keeps evolving as more voices weigh in. Booker's style kept the pace intense, moving quickly between topics while circling back to core themes of allegiance and duty. He referenced historical ideas about character under power, suggesting actions in office reveal true priorities more than words. For many tuning in, it crystallized why these oversight moments matter, especially on issues touching justice for vulnerable people. As the dust settles, the nomination process continues amid these